No, not a mythical beast, but a real biological phenomenon where a person has two completely different sets of DNA. This can happen when fraternal twins merge into one embryo in the womb. So, you could literally be your own twin. Imagine going through life with some of your cells having one genetic code and other cells having another. There are documented cases of people discovering this only when a DNA test for something like an organ transplant comes back with confusing results. It's incredibly rare, but it makes you wonder, who are you really? Now let's travel way, way back in time. I'm talking about 150,000 years ago. Did you know that every single person alive today can trace a part of their genetic heritage back to one single woman? Scientists call her mitochondrial Eve. This isn't a biblical reference, it's pure genetics. Mitochondria, the powerhouses of our cells, have their own DNA, and it's passed down exclusively from mother to child. By tracking these mutations backward through time, researchers pinpointed this common maternal ancestor who lived in Africa. She wasn't the only woman alive at the time, not by a long shot. But through sheer genetic luck, her mitochondrial lineage is the only one that survived to the present day in an unbroken chain. So in a very real, scientific way, we are all distant cousins. Ever heard of a baby being born with a tail? It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but it's a real, albeit extremely rare, phenomenon called atavism. This is when an ancestral trait, something that disappeared from the species millions of years ago, suddenly reappears. Our ancient ancestors had tails, and the genes for them are still lurking in our DNA, just switched off. Occasionally, a genetic hiccup flips that switch back on, and a baby is born with a small, soft tail. It's a literal throwback, a genetic echo from our deep evolutionary past, popping up to say hello. It's not just tails, either. Other atavistic traits can include extra-large canine teeth or even extra nipples along the milk line. Remnants of our mammalian ancestors? All right, let's get a little more personal. Are you one of those people who, when you walk out into bright sunlight, you can't help but sneeze? You're not alone. It's called the photic sneeze reflex, or, more amusingly, autosomal dominant, compelling, helioophthalmic outburst syndrome. Yes, the acronym is ACHOO. You can't make this stuff up. About 1 in 4 people have this trait, and it's completely genetic. Scientists believe that in people with this gene, the nerve that senses light in your eyes gets crossed with the nerve that triggers a sneeze. So when a bright light hits your retina, your brain gets a mixed signal and just says, "Welp, time to sneeze." It's a harmless and kind of funny genetic quirk that gets passed down through families. Next up, a debate that has torn families apart, ruined dinners, and challenged friendships. Cilantro. Do you think it tastes fresh and delicious, or like a mouthful of soap? If you're in the soap camp, you can blame your genes. There's a specific genetic variation linked to your olfactory receptors that makes some people highly sensitive to the aldehyde chemicals in cilantro. These are the same chemicals found in soap and some insects. So when you say it tastes like soap, you're not being dramatic. Your body is literally telling you that you're eating something that shares compounds with soap. Your cilantro-loving friends just don't have that specific genetic receptor, so they taste all the fresh citrusy notes instead. It's a powerful example of how our DNA shapes our most basic sensory experiences. And while we're on the topic of food and weird bodily reactions, let's talk about asparagus. Have you ever eaten asparagus and then, a little while later, noticed a very distinct smell in your urine? Well, you're not alone. But you might be surprised to learn that not everyone experiences this. The ability to produce this smell and the ability to smell it are two separate genetic traits. When you digest asparagus, your body breaks down a specific acid into sulfurous compounds. Some people's genes cause them to produce these stinky compounds, while others don't. On top of that, there's a completely different gene that determines whether you can even smell those compounds. So it's possible you're producing the smell but can't detect it, or you don't produce it at all. It's a whole genetic lottery just to determine the aromatic outcome of your vegetable side dish. So far, we've talked a lot about genes being a fixed blueprint, but that's not the whole story. This brings us to one of the most exciting fields in genetics: epigenetics. Think of your DNA as a massive cookbook. The recipes your genes are fixed. But epigenetics is like a set of sticky notes and highlights that your chef, which is your environment and lifestyle, adds to the book. These epigenetic marks don't change the recipes themselves, but they tell your body which recipes to use, which to ignore, and how often to make them. Things like your diet, stress levels, and exposure to toxins can all leave these marks on your DNA, effectively turning genes on or off. And here's the mind-blowing part. Some of these epigenetic changes can be passed down to your children and even your grandchildren. A famous study looked at the grandchildren of people who experienced a severe famine. It found that the descendants had higher rates of certain health problems, not because their DNA sequence was different, but because the epigenetic marks from their grandparents' starvation experience were passed down, altering how their genes functioned. It means your life experiences, your choices, could be influencing the health of your future family for generations to come. It's the ultimate proof that we are not just our genes. We are a product of our genes, our environment, and the lives our ancestors lived. It's nature and nurture in a complex, fascinating dance. So there you have it. From being your own twin to sneezing at the sun, and from inheriting your great-grandmother's trauma to tasting soap in your salsa, your DNA is a treasure trove of strange and wonderful stories. It connects you not just to your immediate family, but to every human who has ever lived, and even to our ancient, tailed ancestors. Your genetic code is the most complex and personal story ever written, full of twists, turns, and some very, very odd details. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today and exploring the wonderfully weird world of genetics. I hope it gave you a new appreciation for the incredible code that makes you, you. What's the weirdest trait that runs in your family? Let me know down in the comments. And if you love diving into fascinating and unusual topics like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. Because here, we love to get oddly specific. See you next time.